Hi, my name is Dana Arnett, co-host of Wicked Marketing, along with my partner, Carlos Cepene. You can find more information about us and our business on LinkedIn, or if you have any questions, email us at info@wickedbionic.com. Subscribe to Wicked Marketing on Apple Podcasts and write an awesome review for us. We're also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Play. Thanks for listening. Hi, this is Dana.
Hi, this is Carlos.
And welcome to Wicked Marketing. We're so glad that you're here listening today. We wanted to talk about something that we have really developed a great expertise in, and that's Hispanic marketing, and this specifically to the Hispanic market and why it's so important. Carlos has a lot to say about it, and I've got some good stats to share.
Yeah, so I think what's important is when trying to reach any sort of community, right? If you look at it at a global scale, it is important to understand that not everybody connects with messaging the same way, that there's many ways to connect with messaging, and that it's not only a cultural issue, it's a generational issue as well. So when you're talking about the Hispanic market in particular, those elements of the communication with that market are enhanced. It's even more important to be aware of who you're talking to and how you're talking to them. The reason for that is because we live in an environment where the communication with markets like the Hispanic one are focused not only on cultural relevance, but also on language. In particular, when you're looking at if you're talking to an older generation or a younger generation, because the younger generations are what I've called second and third generation Hispanics, meaning that their parents or grandparents were the ones that moved to the United States. So while you will need to talk to them or communicate with them in English, most probably, because it is their preferred language to receive communications in, you will have to deliver that message with a cultural relevance, because while it is in English, they are still very much attached to their culture and they react much more to their culture.
And to that point, Carlos, I want to say, one of the facts that we know is 94% of consumers disengage with companies that send mistargeted messages. So, and that's every community. So not targeting, whether it's in language or within the culture of the community, will lose you business, basically.
Exactly. So when we look at messaging nowadays, the more that the ability to target particular customers has evolved, the more ability that we have to communicate with people in the language, in the culture that they most connect with. So whereas in the past, you would be able to have a single message that you blasted over billboards everywhere and risked not connecting with a segment of the community, now you're able to have multiple messages that are targeted to specific subsegments within a culture, so that you can have a message that is sensitive to those cultural relevancies, targeted in English to the younger generation, in Spanish to the older generation, while also keeping in mind that each generation, no matter what the culture is, has different priorities that are tied to their environment, priorities that are tied to their priorities, and priorities that are tied to their cultural relevance. So in cases like the older generations of Hispanics, their priorities are really centered around family. So using imagery that is reminiscent of any sort of family connection is highly effective within this subsegment of the Hispanic audience. Whereas for the younger generation, those connections are more in the social sphere. So having that message delivered either via an influencer or an influential network like Instagram is highly important. And I know that we have some stats around how people especially in the younger generation, like to receive the messaging through Instagram.
I think, Carlos, it's kind of like, we all don't eat the same meal every night in the same place. And, in order to deliver the right message to the right audience, about your brand or your business, you need to know where they are and how they're consuming content. And to your point, diversifying your content attracts more customers and basically increases your ROI, right? I think that there's so many opportunities that people might not necessarily see by targeting sub-segments.
Exactly. So whatever it is that you're trying to market, whether it's a product or service that you're trying to connect with people, what is important is as you determine your messaging, you don't only focus on what you want to say, but on how you want it to be received. Because at the end of the day, what drives that brand recall or that ability to recall your brand at the moment to make a decision is whether or not that person connected at an emotional level with the message, right? Because emotions are the easiest way to transfer people to a specific moment in time. And those emotions can come from music, which is highly effective, or imagery, or the messaging itself. So however you craft your advertising or your outreach or your marketing message, make sure that you're leveraging these mediums to create an emotional connection with people. Because the moment that people see your ad is not the moment, or the moment that they see your message is not necessarily the moment that they're going to make the decision to go engage with your brand. And this is true across the board, not only in Hispanic marketing, but when you are targeting a specific culture like the Hispanic culture, there are sort of easier elements or well-known within the industry elements that you can leverage to be able to connect with that specific subsegment and be culturally relevant. One of the biggest challenges out there is that because we have been so mentalized over the years in marketing and advertising to target the general market message, is that we miss an opportunity to reach out to a community that manages 1/3 or up to 1/3 of the spending power in some places in the United States.
$1.7 trillion spending power of Hispanics in the United States. That's how crazy it is. And and that's across the entire United States. You get into just Los Angeles alone, and I think it's 11 billion. So really knowing your area, really knowing the makeup and where your target audience, where Hispanics are and how they consume content is what's going to make a difference. So you're not spending money in the entire US, you're spending it in localized marketing where you can really draw out the people that you're looking to attract.
Yeah. So another thing that you want to look at when you're talking to the Hispanic audience is the household income. So when you're targeting your messaging within the Hispanic community, household income is going to inform the priorities of the audiences that you're reaching out to. So while you may reach someone within the Hispanic community with the right music or the right message, if you're not considering where they are, what their environment is, that message may fail to connect. It is important to understand that when you are in a lower income bracket, particularly within the Hispanic community, your priorities shift primarily to how products and services serve the immediate need of your family, not only you as a person or head of household or decision maker, but how those products influence your immediate family. Whereas when you look at the mid to higher tier of household income Hispanics, the priorities shift more towards convenience. How is this product or service convenient to myself? So looking at elements like that, and then how do I craft my messaging to deliver on promises that are important to the priorities and important to the cultural elements within the community is going to be highly important. The other thing to know about Hispanics is that there's different, the Hispanic community is considered like this global community. And what it really is is not a one size fits all. So while everyone within that Hispanic bucket speaks Spanish, there are intricacies to language where there are words in maybe Mexico that are used in a very different way in places like Colombia, Venezuela, Argentina. So you have to be very careful when crafting that messaging to use a company that actually knows these intricacies within the language.
And I think what you were saying was super powerful about that feeling of inclusion. And I was thinking on the simplest level, everyone wants to feel included, right? And and that's why that building that relationship with multicultural audiences, with the Hispanic community, it really is a relationship. It's not just putting out the correct ad. And one of our clients, LATV, they're the Latin owned content producer, and we look at their content, and it's just so appropriate for that culture. And we have a couple of young people that work in our office that are Hispanic, and they just enjoy the memes, enjoy the things that remind them of their grandma or their childhood, and I see that it's very different than how I consume content or what I'm looking for. So there is so much available by doing research or hiring a company to do research to really understand, like Carlos was saying, the intricacies and the small things that will actually make it seem and hopefully be that you actually care about them.
Yeah. So and that's a great point, right? Because LATV being a younger targeted second and third generation or first generation English speaking Hispanic an entertainment company, when they post content, even within that culturally relevant content, the older Hispanics tend to not connect as well as the younger ones. So when we look at their demographics and their performance, which I was actually pulling numbers for that today, we see that most of their audience stops at around 35 to 40. After that, there is a larger drop. So while they cornered the market, or the prime market, I would say, of that 18 to 40 type audience, connecting with the older generations of Hispanics is not as effective because their brand is very socially relevant, very culturally relevant, but very targeted towards that younger second and third generation Hispanics or first generation English speaking Hispanics, which is what I am in particular within the marketplace.
And I think also the idea, and I've seen that so much with LATV and the people that participate or engage with them on social, is that it really is so much an influencer, meaning not talking about a celebrity influencer, but how we influence each other or how they tell each other. And then things it just grows the culture and grows that closeness amongst the community. It really is a community. And I think there's something that word of mouth is really what keeps it growing. So, you're wanting to be top of mind, but you're wanting to have something that's interesting and something that feels like, that's right, why it's a campaign, not an ad. It has to be a campaign. And
absolutely,
it is really, yes, growing, creating a campaign, a long-term strategy to become part of, and then feel like you're on the inside, and people feel like like I said before, letting them know that your business cares and understands and wants to be a part of, and wants them to embrace you as well. I think that's, it's the emotional piece of it, but it has to be authentic. It just does.
Yeah, and that's a great point, right? Because one of the things that you'll notice is when brands are trying to connect right now with those younger generations across the board, the word influencer gets thrown around quite a bit. What has happened over time is that as the larger brands have been able to measure because they have larger budgets to spend on it, is that just leveraging influencers is not necessarily the best way to connect with people, even though that's how they like to receive messaging, because some of them are so large that it's again that environment of trying to talk to everybody with a single message. So one of the the evolutions that has happened within the influencer space that is highly relevant within the Hispanic community is the concept of the micro influencer. So we're not talking about celebrities. We're not talking about those huge YouTubers that cost millions of dollars to pay in order to be able to connect with audiences. But what we're talking about are people that have 1,000+ followers. And these are people that have micro communities around them that they are able to grab your brand and messaging and connect with people in order to be able to engage them. But what they're able to do is they're able to craft the messaging in a way that connects with their direct audience. So you give more of a guidance around what perception you're trying to drive with your community. And then they're able to reinterpret that in a way that connects directly with their followers. So that's another effective way. The challenge there is that you have to have micro segments of your targeted in order to be able to communicate, and managing those campaigns can become cumbersome over time, right? Because you have to manage those communications with so many people. That's why it's important that if you're really trying to reach a community, if you're doing it on your own, that you do it at a more localized level within a demographic area range to begin with, so that you gain some experience from it. But if you're trying to do a larger campaign to, maybe a region like LA County or the LA DMA area, that you're working with an agency that is not only able to or verifiably not only able to connect with those audiences, but that is able to manage it at the scale that it needs to be managed in order for your message to be delivered in an effective way and with the right media mix in order to engage with the target audiences within the Hispanic community that you're trying to reach and engage, and then have some measurable KPIs, meaning key performance indicators, that your brand can say, okay, my goal was to reach 18 to 30 men and women within the Hispanic community that are within a certain income bracket. And then you say, okay, I created this messaging and I'm using these influencers or micro influencers to reach the community. Is it affecting the ROI for my company doing it this way?
Carlos, you described exactly what we do and what we love to do. And I think that, we've been experts at this for a while. And I think in one campaign, that we work on, and we've reached 4.3 million Hispanics with very targeted initiatives, and have gotten, incredible results, over 300% engagement for one of our clients. And that actually leads me to something great. Carlos and I, really talked to the team at Wicked Bionic and wanted to be able to provide a report that kind of gathered information, as much information as we could find. We researched and analyzed it, and it brought together all these sources of really what multicultural marketing is all about. And you'll see a lot of statistics in there about the Hispanic market. I've shared some of those with you already. But if you'd like to get that free report, if you go to wickedbionic.com/marketing means diversity. That's wickedbionic.com/marketing means diversity. You can get a PDF of that report. It's like a 10 or 11 page report. I think you'll find a lot of useful tools. And we also offer some solutions that Carlos has been talking about, that ways to achieve success in advertising to different target audiences. I have to, Carlos, we're not in the same place for the first time we're doing this recording. We're always in the same place, so we can give each other the hairy eyeball when the other one wants to talk, but we're actually in separate spots. So did you have anything else you wanted to wrap with? Because I wanted to read one little quick story to finish.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify the URL is marketing hyphen means hyphen diversity. But even easier than that is if you just type marketingmeansdiversity.com, we
Oh,
made
we
it
got that
super easy
URL. That's right.
for you. Yeah, we made it super easy for you to get to the page where you can download the report. And although the report is covering multicultural marketing overall, there are quite a few tidbits of how to engage and why it's important to engage in a certain way with the Hispanic community that we feel are super helpful at least crafting an initial view of how you should be looking at engaging with communities in your area.
I have to end with this thing, and it's actually in the Marketing Means Diversity 2020 report, and it's at the very end, and it's something that we thought was such a great industry success story, and it's the winner of one of the 5 best ads from the U.S. Hispanic Awards. It was one of the top 5 best ads, and I'm going to read it to you. Pepsi and Burger King Argentina's Rejected. That was the name of the campaign. An offbeat video was created for PepsiCo and Burger King, which features personable but not glamorous actors who were rejected at a casting call for rival cola and fast food brands, but are welcomed by Pepsi and Burger King. The message is, why would you choose a brand that wouldn't choose you? So that's that thing, right? If you Google it, there is a link within the PDF if you go to it. But if you went 5 best ads, U.S. Hispanic Awards, and it's such a great video showing about why speaking in culture is so necessary and kind of covers everything that we were talking about. Is great.
And I think that's a great example of how to effectively connect. And so what you have to, it just reminded me that one of the things that you have to be careful about is when you are culturally connecting with a specific audience, that the cultural sensitivities are extremely important and could cause a major fail for your brand. The same way as Pepsi connected really well with that campaign, there was another campaign that went out during Holy Week, which if one thing Latinos or Hispanics are known for is religion, right? So we're highly religious countries, and like Venezuela, where I come from, is 98% Catholic. So and very proud in that way about it. One brand tried to take advantage of that culturally relevant time of year to put out on the street as a marketing campaign, not confessionals, but like places where you could go and kneel and pray in front of their
Wednesday, right?
I think it was actually, yeah, you're right, on Ash Wednesday. But when you knelt to pray, you were praying to their brand. To their product.
It was just such a cringe-worthy moment to look at that. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know
failed.
who came up with that idea.
They're not their marketing agency anymore. I'll guarantee that.
Absolutely not. It came through, instead of it being like a facetious type, joke. Maybe it came through as a complete annihilation of that brand.
It fell flat. That's a great way to end, with a positive and a negative. Yeah. The ways to do it and not do it. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for listening to us. Hope you gained some help. And we're, again, wickedbionic.com if you want to learn a little bit about more about us. And thank you for listening.